Welcome to State Scoop TV. I'm Jake Williams. We are here with Stu Davis. He's the Chief Information Officer for the state of Ohio. Stu, how you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
So Stu, we are at the NASCIO Midyear Conference where we talk all things priorities, all things technology. What are your main priorities and focuses for the year ahead, and how have they changed?
So right now, I think we have a fairly sizable effort on identity access management. Trust Ohio is focused on the cybersecurity side of things. We have our data analytics RFP and the proposals that have been submitted back that we're going through. Data analytics is probably the new one in that mix. We've been obviously working on security always, and identity access management is really sort of couching how you navigate the complexity of state government from a citizen's perspective. So the framework and foundations for getting to the point where your experience in dealing with government would be much, much more streamlined. Another one that we're working on is the Ohio Business Gateway. It's the Lieutenant Governor is really focused on getting that moving. And so we're redoing that to improve the experience of the business community as they interact with state government as well.
So when we talk about a project like that, whether it's the Business Gateway or whether it's the Data Analytics RFP, tell me about your enterprise visioning process. How are you planning on and executing on some of these big projects?
So one of the things that we've done in the state of Ohio that's been extremely beneficial is, so there are 26 different CIOs, agency CIOs, that do not necessarily report to me. And we kind of categorize these guys, or we move them together in lines of business. So there are 5 lines of business in the state, and then I have the CIO who represents that line of business on our technology board. And that's really where we do a lot of that enterprise visioning. And ideas come up from everywhere, which you know how that works. Sometimes I get them here when I talk to other CIOs from other states and what they're doing, and we take that back and we talk those things through. We talk about who should participate in that process, where the stakeholders are. Once we have it sort of understood at the tech board level, then we'll take that back to the lines of business and talk through there, and then we engage with the business community folks that we can make sure that we're getting all sides of that whole thing together. So the transformation project, there's enablement that happens on the IT side. I sometimes get concerned because sometimes that's where things fall through, and then it becomes an IT project, which they're not really. They're a business transformation project. So you got to kind of touch all sides of that triangle.
That's interesting. And at conferences like these, both here at NASCIO and across the world, we spend a lot of time talking about buzzwords, because buzzwords do have meaning even though they have some buzz to them. What's the biggest buzzword that you find yourself getting tired of, and how are you channeling the ideas it represents into action?
Well, there's so many to choose from. It's kind of like standards, right? There's so many to choose from. That's the nice thing about them. Well, I don't know if so much of it's buzzwords. I mean, cloud, that was kind of disruptive technology. I mean, I think data analytics is probably the most disruptive thing that we're going to see. But there's a lot of hype, I think, and a lot of discussion around blockchain. And it's kind of seems like GIS maybe, way back when, like a solution looking for a problem. And until I see some use cases there, I'm going to be a little skeptical on exactly what that application can be. I know it narrowly focused how it can be beneficial, but it just seems like everybody's talking about blockchain, and it's kind of like,
I hear you. We're hearing a lot of it too. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
I bet.
Yeah. So how are you working? You talked about some of the projects you were working on and the agency CIOs and how you're interacting with them. Tell me a little bit more about that process, how you're working to collaborate outside the boundaries of your agency, and what have some of the challenges been that have come along with that?
Well, so we're kind of an interesting thing because we're pretty consolidated, excuse me, and you have, we interact with the agency's CIOs all the time, so we interact through the line of business, also interact through the technology board. But every 6 weeks we have a multi-agency CIO advisory council meeting. So the 33, 35 CIOs come to those. We talk through, we have bidirectional communication, but we'll present on certain things that we're doing and let them know what we're thinking and get their feedback on that. From a state perspective, that's kind of, we do that. We also interact quite a bit with the local, it's Ohio County City Information Technology Association, OCETA. So we interact with them quite a bit because those are the IT guys at the local government level. And so there are things that we provide, through our cooperative purchasing agreements and some of the contracts that we have in place at the state that they can leverage, and we want them to be able to know about those things and take advantage of those things as well as fold into some of our larger projects Trust Ohio being one. We want to look at where we can define, security as a service, what would resonate with local government, because they have just as hard a time, if not more of a harder time, finding and keeping cybersecurity talent.
So we've talked about data analytics, we've talked about blockchain, we've talked about several of these emerging technologies. How is emerging technology in your state changing the way that you solve problems and deliver services?
Well, I think it's that sort of that embracement. I think once you step through the business case and you see what we can do in a very focused thing, right? So even with data analytics, it's not about, hey, let's just apply the tool to everything. It's kind of like, what is the problem we're trying to solve? Let's step through that, understand it well, know where the data is, know where the subject matter experts are, engage with them in a process. So you have to almost have that whole life cycle, if you will, even before you engage with the private sector to assist in any way, shape, or form. But I also think that we're being tasked with a lot of research around autonomous vehicles, as you know, and connected vehicles. We have some things right now that they're asking about, and visually and hearing impaired. How can we bring technology to make their lives better and more fruitful? So I mean, I think there's always that process. There's collecting that information and collecting ideas and not being afraid to say something that is a little bit out there, because it's going to be right around the corner.
Right. Well, look forward to hearing what comes around that corner when it comes. Stu, thanks for being with us.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. For more about what Stu's working on in the state of Ohio, check out statescoop.com and subscribe to the Daily Scoop email newsletter. I'm Jake Williams, State Scoop's Manager of Strategic Initiatives, here with Stu Davis, the Chief Information Officer for the state of Ohio. Thanks for watching.